Okay, last class, I think on Saturday, we discussed about a performance tuning issue. Like one query was running for more than 6 minutes on one database. Both databases are similar. One is of 10 GB, the other one is of 50 GB. So when the database size grows, the same query was running slow on 50 GB database and it was running for 6 minutes. And that same query was running on the smaller database for less than a minute, 36 seconds or something like that. So we created a query and I've shown you how to create a query, like how to create an index, right index, how to create the right index by grabbing the right columns and placing those columns into the index. After creation of index, we reduce the query times from 6 minutes to 2 seconds and from 36 seconds to 0 seconds. So that's how the index creation went on. And after that, we just discussed about DP300 questions. I think we just discussed 5 questions, perhaps 5 or 6, and we are continuing with the rest. So that is the agenda. So my main motive is to pass on the DP300 questions so that you guys can clear the exams on your own and with the technical knowledge, not just by hearting or not just giving to someone else and he's writing on behalf of your own, not like that. So if you're gonna appear for DP300, you're gonna clear those DP300 for sure with these questions. You can write on your own. That's the main motto. So if you know the reasons behind the answers, so you feel comfortable and also it will help you in real time. So that's my agenda. Let's start. So I think we discussed 5 questions perhaps, and I think we have to start from here. This one from here. So if you have any questions, you can let me know before I start. Okay, so let's move on. So here is the question. So you have a database in MI. You have a database in MI, and you have to migrate 5 tables to Azure SQL. And the data changes must be visible as quickly as possible. I think I'm hearing some noise. Just give me a second. Okay, so the source is MI, the target is Azure SQL, and we have to migrate the data of 5 tables from managed instance to Azure SQL. What are the options that I can make use of in the below? So obviously the answer is transactional replication. Why transactional replication? Before I pass on the answers, I will let you know the reason behind transactional replication also. So he's saying 5 tables. He's not asking for the entire database. He's asking for only few tables. So if someone says few tables, straight away we should get the point of replication. That is one thing. Second thing, he wants to get the data quickly, as quickly as possible. Means if I go with transactional replication, I can get the data as quickly as possible. That is the second reason. And you have to understand, I'm just giving you one more information, guys. So when you have managed instance can act like publisher, subscriber, and distributor. I repeat, managed instance can act like publisher, subscriber, and distributor. But when it comes to Azure SQL, it can play the role of only subscriber. It cannot be publisher. It cannot be distributor. Is that clear? Any questions? So the answer is transactional replication. But one important point is MI can act the role of publisher, distributor, subscriber, but Azure SQL can act only in the role of subscriber. It cannot be anything else. So that is the downside of Azure SQL. Okay, I'm moving on with the next question. The next question is on on-premises. So we have on-premises 2019 instance, and we need to migrate to MI with the minimum downtime. So what are the options that I have to choose between these 4? Again, I repeat, the source is on-premises, the target is MI, the requirement is minimum downtime. So what should I choose to make this work? So we have 4 options in front of us. So very important point is, if you are migrating any database from on-premises to MI, while you are performing backups, you have to ensure checksum option. It is very important. So straight away, I can get rid of two options here. The first and the fourth we can ignore because it is not with checksum. So when you are not with checksum, then we can ignore these options. Why? Because it's a requirement when you are backing up the databases from on-premises and you want and like to restore them onto MI, you have to have backups with checksum. Otherwise, it won't. I will not say it won't work. I think it will take a lot of time because MI will again cross-check whether the backup is valid or not. If you are doing with checksum, already we are ensuring that backups is going to be valid because we are performing that algorithm, checksum algorithm, which checks if there are any errors inside the backup. So that is requirement for MI. So if you are taking a backup from on-premises, it has to have with checksum. So this option is gone, this option is gone. So I'm left with only two options. So one is create MI with premium series hardware, and the other one is create MI with standard series hardware. Only these two lines are the differences, premium and standard. Rest all remains the same. Create full and log backups with checksum, store the backups in SMB network share. Everything remains same. Only difference is premium and standard. So if you are, the requirement is minimum downtime. The downtime should be as minimal as possible. So to get minimal downtime, I have to go with premium series because premium series provides online migration. So he's talking about DMS here. Internally, he's talking about DMS, but he is not revealing that anything about DMS. So he's twisting the question. So our knowledge, if you have the concepts with us, so straight away I can ignore 1 and 4 because it doesn't have the checksum option. And between 2 and 3, I have to choose 2 because it says minimum downtime, means I have to have premium series because premium series supports online migration. So this is the reason that we have to choose the second option. Any questions? Okay. If there is silence, I believe everyone is understanding or you're not able to understand anything. So only two options. Let's move on next with the next question. So he's having on-prem environment and he has to move the databases of 10 databases from on-prem to Azure SQL. So before migration, you have to validate certain things. So you need to validate the compatibility of the database with Azure SQL database because you can't move any database from on-premises to Azure SQL database or MI. There are certain dependencies because MI and Azure SQL both falls into platform as a service world. When I say platform as a service world, it will not have operating system. There is no operating system in the platform as a service world. When you don't have operating system, you cannot have certain features. For example, if you wanted to run XP command shell, it can't be done, right? Because XP command shell has to interact with the operating system. Since we don't have operating system, you can't make use of XP command shell. So if you are using XP command shell in any of your store procedures, you are gone. You can't make use of it. I'm just giving an example. Okay. So my requirement or my question is about migrating a database from on-premises to Azure SQL. We have to migrate 10 databases and you have to check the compatibility. What are the tools that we can make use of to check the compatibility? So we have 5 options here. We have to choose 2 options. So definitely, I guess most of you will are aware of data migration assistant. So it has to be there because it checks the compatibility. So my option is DMA, the first option, and rest of the options in rest of the 4 options, I have to choose one more option because he said 2 tools. Okay, mapping it's a different tool, and in on-premises to identify the servers that are running your entire estate, then I can go with Microsoft Assessment and Planning tool. So this is a different tool. It can't be used for migration. So we can ignore this. Straight away, I can say copy database wizard. No, that is not the tool because it just copies the database and we have to check the validity. It's not about migration here. He's asking question about validity. So we can ignore this. We can rule out this. The next one is app and data modernization readiness tool. No, we are not going to perform any app oriented services here. We are just concentrating on migration of 10 databases. So we can ignore this option. So the right options are Azure Migrate Discovery and Assessment Tool. So it will assess the databases, whether they are compatible or not. And the other one is DMA. So these are the 2 options that I have to go with. And just to let you know, guys, this question is kind of outdated. Nowadays, if you wanted to assess, you have to make use of Azure Data Studio. It's not DMA. It's not DMA. You can use this tool even now, but in real time, if you wanted to carry out the same thing, you have to make use of Azure Data Studio, not DMA. Okay, so I'm moving with the next question. So if you guys don't ask me any questions or queries, so I will just continue. You can stop me, as I said. So the next question is on TDE. So you have an on-premises database that uses TDE. So he has encryption by using transparent database encryption, TDE. So we have to migrate this TDE enabled database from on-premises to MI. So when you are doing migration, imagine, just leave out managed instance for a second. Even in real time, if you have a TDE database and you wanted to migrate from one instance to another instance, what should we do? We have to export the certificates, and we have to export the private key, right? So the same thing we have to do for Azure MI. But the problem here is we don't have the operating system. Okay, we don't have the operating system. That you have to always keep in your mind when you're dealing with MI or Azure PaaS. Azure SQL, we don't have the operating system. So keep that in your mind. So he's saying you have to migrate the TD enabled database from on-premises to MI, and you export the TD certificate to a file. So we did export the certificate to a file, and you need to ensure that you can restore the database onto MI. So where should you upload that certificate? So this option, when he's talking about this question, okay, especially this question, the support for TD enabled databases onto MI has started recently, means last year only. Previously, it was not there. That support was not there. And I mean, it was there, but it was very difficult to carry out. Okay, it was very difficult. But if you can make use of Azure Data Studio, you can do it. You can do it with the help of Azure Data Studio. And just for your information, I think I have to pull this. I made a video on this. I made a video on this where I compared Azure Data Studio and Database Migration Assistant. In that comparison, I've shown like how to make use of TD enabled database, how to restore TD enabled database from on-premises to MI. Let me show you that video. I think 1 second. I'm just referencing my videos, guys, so that the people who are part of my training, they can go through that video. So that's the reason. 1 second. Yeah, see this one, Azure Data Studio versus Data Migration Assistant. So in this video, I have clearly shown how to achieve that task, like the importance of Data Studio and that option what we are discussing. Okay, the answer now is MI1. It's not Recovery Services Vault. It's not Azure Key Vault. You have to upload your certificate onto MI1, Managed Instance 1, onto same MI only. So that is the answer. I know a few of you have not worked on few of the topics, but it's okay. But at least understand the things so you can feel much better rather than just preparing for dumps or something else. This is a very easy question. I believe everyone would be able to answer. So you need to recommend a HADR solution for Azure VM. Okay, and that Azure VM has to meet the following criteria. What is that criteria? What he's looking for? He's saying all the databases should be protected, including system databases. Agent jobs should be protected. Downtime should be minimized. Failover process must be done automatically. So out of these 4, which option will you choose? You can talk now because this is very simple question, and I expect people to answer this. Did I mute? As I muted you, but you can unmute yourself. What is that? What is the option that can safeguard my system databases, my agent jobs with minimal downtime and automatic failover? Out of these 4.
Second option.
Second or first? Someone said first, someone said second.
First failover cluster instance.
First one, always on failover cluster.
Obviously, it should be the first one. When he says system databases must be protected, then and there itself, we can ignore the rest of the options, because always on, it's only for user databases. It can't be for system databases. And transactional application, as you know, it's only for certain tables. And log shipping, no way I can configure log shipping for system databases. So my answer should be always on failover cluster instance. Few questions are very easy, few questions are a bit complicated. So this is one more scenario, the same question. So he has to migrate, he has to choose the virtual machine that is having 10 databases, and this is his requirement. So if any of the databases for app 1 becomes unavailable, all the 3 databases must fail over. The failover must be automatic without any data loss. The other databases on the server must not be affected by the failover. So he's talking about 3 user databases and failover automatic data without any data loss. So obviously it is always on availability group. So this is simple question. And now we got a little complicated question, not a bit, because the options will confuse you. You know the topic, but let me go through this question. So the question is on migration again. You need to migrate a database on SQL 1.2 always on availability group located across multiple data centers. So when he says multiple data centers, it means that is multi-subnet clusters. Okay, when we have different data centers, then the configuration itself will be tied with multi-subnet failover cluster. Let's move on. You create an always on availability group named AG1. We created AG1 availability group and configured 2 replicas. So one is in one data center, the other one is in another data center. You need to ensure the continuity in the event of failover. So if something happens, so there should be no loss, and it should continue. Okay, so which 2 actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. So we have to choose 2 options out of this 5. So what should be my 2 options? So this is a multi-subnet failover cluster, I mean always on multi-subnet. So configure a backup preference. I don't need this at all, because we are not bothered about backup preferences here, so I can ignore. Configuring a read route URL. No, we are not talking about any reporting here. So if you say reporting, then we have to configure the routing and all that things needs to be done. So you can completely ignore this. So we are left with only 3 options. Multi-subnet failover equal to true. Create an availability listener. Configure connection timeout equal to 60 for the connection string of app1. So we are left with 3 options. Out of these 3, there are 2 correct answers. Which one should we choose? Obviously, without listener, without listener, I can't do anything. So I have to create availability listener. And since we are on multiple database, multi-subnet clusters, you have to choose multi-subnet failover equal to true in their connection strings. Why we have to ignore 60? Because this is not single subnet, this is multi-subnet. So obviously my connection string should support multi-subnet failover equal to true. Now I will add one more question. This is not here, but still I am asking this. Okay. So imagine you configured an always on availability group on Azure VMs, means IaaS. I repeat my question. Imagine you configured always on availability groups on Azure VMs. When I say Azure VMs, it is nothing but infrastructure as a service. Okay. And you created that always on availability groups using distributed network name technology. It's called as DNN, distributed network name. When you configure always on availability groups on IaaS with DNN technology, okay, and it is a single subnet, it's not multi-subnet, it's a single subnet. So should I write multi-subnet failover equal to true on single subnet servers? Just a discussion. So my question is, okay, let's talk about this question only. So he is not mentioning about multiple data centers. He's just saying single subnet. Okay, means only one data center. We don't have multiple data centers, and only one single subnet what we have. In such case, should I write multi-subnet failover equal to true in on-premises?
No, not required.
Not required, right? The same question.
this time it is on IaaS, Azure VMs, using load balancer. Should I make use of multi-subnet failover equal to true?
If it is load balancer, not required.
Yes. So if it is load balancer, it is not required. But the last question, it is on distributed network name, DNN technology. So all these things, guys, these are available on my YouTube channel and my part of the course also. So I might promote here because I have to refer my content. That's the reason I'm referring to my videos here. So if you are interested, you can watch this video. So it talks about distributed network name. Okay. So if you are using distributed network name, then you need not, you have to use multi-subnet failover equal to 2. That is the twist. So if you are using distributed network name, even though you are on single subnet, I repeat, even though you are on single subnet, you have to use multi-subnet failover equal to true. If you wanted to know the reason, you can watch that video. Let's move on. Okay, this is very simple. I expect people to answer this. You have an MI that contains the database name DB1. Okay, you have the backup also. Now, the question is, we have the backup and we have to restore on the existing database on MI. Okay, we have the backup, just like in on-premises, we have the backup and we need to override the database, but the platform is Azure MI. So which two actions you should perform? Each correct answer presents the part of the solution. So before going through these 4 options, is it possible to overwrite a database on MI? Yes or no? Okay.
Not possible.
So remember, guys, if it is MI, you can't take the database offline. It's not possible. You can't take the database. You can't override the database. Okay. And you can't take the database into single user mode also. I think I need to test single user mode. I'm not quite sure because sometimes I might get confused with these options. But in general, if it is MI, you can't take the database to offline state. You can't override the database. For sure, I can say about this too. So now, coming back to the options, since we cannot overwrite, what should I do? I have to drop the database. So obviously this is the right answer. I have to go with this option. So I'm left with 3 more options. I think even single user mode is not possible. I believe so, but I will check this option. Then we are left with restore DB1 from URL, restore DB1 from file. Which one should I choose? URL or file?
URL.
Obviously, remember guys, manage instance is not having operating system since it is platform as a service. So I cannot choose restore database name from file. It's not possible. It has to be URL because my backups will be stored on blob container, storage containers. Inside blob, we will have those files. So I have to make use of restore from URL. So the option is drop the database and then restore the database from URL. Okay, next question. I think this is very easy question. So you have an availability group on VMs. You need to add an existing database to availability group. So you perform full backup database on primary and you have to restore it onto second replica and you have to join the database to availability group. So very simple question. In always on, if you are restoring, which one should I choose? Before I join the database to always on, it has to be no recovery, right? So this is the right answer. Some questions are very easy. So it is restore with no recovery because if you do with recovery, the database will be online. You cannot add that database to always on. Standby, it's not lock shipping. Partial, no need to talk about that option. Okay, so now this is very good question. I used to ask this question when I was doing interviews. Okay, you have a virtual machine, means nothing but IaaS. It can be on premises also. There's nothing great. It can be on premises or IaaS. During weekly maintenance task, okay, you discovered some consistency errors on DB1 database. You plan to restore the database from backups. Okay, you plan to restore the database from backups. So which command should you run before the restore command? Before performing restoration, which command should I run? Which command should I run? Single user, emergency, offline, restricted.
Single user.
Yeah, so before restoration, it's very simple question. I mean, I asked this simple question just to know before, because there should not be any connections to the database. So it has to be single user. So I have to go with single user. So we'll talk about emergency. I think at the bottom, there is one question on emergency, similar question, I believe. So I will talk about that. So okay, let me talk about this question. You got corruption. Okay, you got corruption on on-premises or IaaS, doesn't matter. You got corruption and you found the reason for the corruption. You got the reason also. So you have to repair the database. Okay, you have to repair that database. You don't have backups. That's why you are going with repair of the database. So if that is the case, which option should I choose out of single user and emergency? What will you do?
Offline.
So we got corruption. What are the steps to overcome that corruption? No, you're breaking up, bro. So I'm not able to hear you clearly. We have corruption on our databases. What are the steps that needs to be done when you don't have backups?
First, we put the database in single user mode.
Okay.
Then the next step is emergency.
First single user mode, then emergency. Is that right?
I think vice versa.
Okay. So why have to keep the database in emergency? Is that really required?
If the database is not accessible, it helps us to access the database if we keep it in emergency.
So it is very important, guys. I used to ask this question many a times to see the candidate's visibility, like how knowledgeable he is. Okay. So when you are saying emergency, so when there is corruption, for example, non-cluster indexes got corrupted. Okay, just non-cluster index. So in such case, you need not keep your database into emergency state. Okay, if there is any possibility of log file corruption or if the database is completely not accessible, in such situation, you have to go with emergency, not for any corruption. Don't just say, okay, if anyone asks you corruption, okay, you will. I have seen so many times people saying emergency, single user mode, repair allow data loss, multi-user. No, 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 not at all. Not at all. Okay, correct yourselves. That is not the right answer. So when you have corruption, a small corruption, for example, as I said, non-cluster index corruption, you need not set your database into emergency. That is not required. Okay, when the database itself is not accessible, in such case, you have to set emergency, not in every case. Okay, that is the first correction you have to make yourselves. Second thing, why have to keep the database in single user mode? Why I have to keep the database in single user mode? Is that required really?
Yeah, it's required. Other than me, no one need to access the database.
What
No.
if someone access it? Will there be any problem? That is not the right answer. That's the reason I'm correcting you guys. This is interview questions and certification questions. I'm just appending both. Remember, again, correct yourselves. Why I need to keep my database in single user mode? Many of the people are saying, okay, no one should be able to access. No, that is not the reason. The reason is if you have to run repair allow data loss, it has to be in single user mode. That is a requirement for repair allow data loss. That is a requirement. I'm stressing that word requirement. Without keeping the database into single user mode, you cannot run repair allow data loss. So it is the repair allow data loss option that is forcing you to keep the database in single user mode, not just to ensure the safety of the database. I mean, no one should be able to connect. No, that's not the case. It is the requirement. That is why you are keeping your database into single user mode. Okay, and emergency, and again talking about emergency, you need not keep your databases into emergency state all the times. Okay, if it is just a small corruption, you need not keep. Just go ahead with single user mode, repair allow data loss. That's it. Again, I'm repeating, if there are no backups, we are performing this repair. Okay, if you have backups, you have to go with backups. Okay, correct yourselves, guys. This is very important. I've seen people giving wrong answers from many years, but still that answers are still continuing. I don't know from where you got those answers. Correct yourselves. I can show you, because just for your information, I'm talking this confidently because if you see DBCC check DB, okay. So I'll show you this. So Control F, repair. So repair allow data loss, repair fast, repair rebuild, both are there, right? I mean, all the three are there. So let me show you single user mode. So she specifies check DB repairs. Okay, repair if some errors are found. Okay, let's read this line. use the repair option only as last resort. Okay, if you don't have any backups, you have to go with repair. So this should be our last option. This is the reason. The specified database must be in single user mode to use one of the following repair options, not just repair all or data loss, even repair fast, repair rebuild. If you wanted to perform any of these three options, this is the requirement. The specified database must be in single user mode. Very clearly they have written, but no one will give us the right answer if I ask this question. They always says no one should be able to connect. No, that's not the case. It is a requirement to make use of these options for CheckDB. Okay, got it? Clear? If I ask the same question again, don't say people should not be able to connect when doing this repair. No, that's not the answer. Let's move on. The next question is, I think it's very simple. Let's check this. You have 2019 instance and you are configuring backup maintenance solution. So I have to ensure my databases should be, we should be able to restore my databases at any point of time. Okay, so what are my options that I have to choose? Full, T-log, copy only, file group backup. So when I wanted to ensure point in time restore, what is that important backup that I have to configure? Transaction log backup.
Full
So I
and
have
T-log.
full and transaction log backup, because without full you can't just restore transaction log. So which two types of backups? Full and T-log. It's very simple. So I need not talk much about that. Okay, the next question is on managed instance. So we have two instances, SQL1 managed instance and SQL2 MI. SQL1 hosts the database name DB1. So managed instance SQL1 is having DB1 database. Someone has deleted that database. An operator deletes DB1. You need to restore DB1 to SQL2. Okay, you need to restore DB1 to SQL2. Which tools will you make use of to perform this?
Azure portal.
So Azure portal, just for your information, yes, that is right answer. Before I talk about this option, let me talk about this. Am I right? I think I've done somewhere. I mean, I wrote a blog on this. Yeah. So we have two options. Okay. So one through what is that? Azure portal, but in real time, you will not get permissions, guys, and for doing this action, because I have performed this action. My infrastructure team is not allowing me to do this via portal. We don't have permissions. In such case, what are the other options? Azure portal is right answer, by the way. So this is right answer. So what is that other option that I can make use of? T-SQL, CLI, PowerShell.
PowerShell.
PowerShell, yes, PowerShell. So, but here, unfortunately, so in this case, so it has to be PowerShell only. CLI is not supporting this option, but I'm a little confused with this option, because in the past when I worked, I got the support of CLI because I have written this. See this? Using Azure CLI, we can do this, and I have done this using CLI only. But I read somewhere that they removed this option or removed this support of restoring the database from one MI to another MI using CLI. This is the command. You can clearly see I restored using CLI. So we need to double check whether it is PowerShell or CLI. So I'll check this part. I believe in the past, I'm pretty sure it is CLI, but I read somewhere it's not happening now. So I will double check and I'll come back to you. Portal is the right answer. So people are saying PowerShell now, but in the past I made use of CLI. So that's the reason I'm little confused with this option or this option. So I'll check this option. Okay, let's move on. Very simple log shipping question. So I expect people to answer this. So we have two SQL Server VMs. We need to configure log shipping for one of the database by name sales. So you enabled sales database as primary server in the log shipping configuration. So what is the next option that I have to do? Backup settings for sales or adding the secondary server to log shipping, monitor server, configuring monitoring server instance, or creating the sales database on secondary server. After choosing the backup, after choosing the database for log shipping, what is the next step that I have to do? Log shipping, you can answer this. This is not something very tricky, right?
Add secondary server to the log shipping configuration.
So before you add, what is that first thing that you will do? You have to configure backup job, right? So option is configure the backup setting for sales. Okay, again, confusion. Don't get confused. It's very simple. We know log shipping, right? Log shipping. Okay, log shipping. So you can take any blog or any article. So for example, if I take this one, what is that I have to do? First, I will choose the database, right? So see this, enable the database. So when you are enabling, the first thing what you will do is backup setting, right? You have to set backup settings for your log shipping database. So that is the first thing what you will do. Once you have configured the backup settings, the next step is adding your secondary instance, right? So the answer is configure the backup setting for sales database. Any confusions with this question? I don't think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on. Again, a DMV. This time he is talking about DMV. We have the availability group that contains 3 instances or 3 replicas. You have a business process that runs on each replica. The process runs every hour and must be started only on the primary replica. Which view should you query to obtain the necessary information of each replica? Just he is talking about replica, all replicas. So which DMV will provide us the replica information? Straight away, we can say sys dot, you can ignore sys dot availability groups because he's asking about replicas information. So this is replica cluster states. We can ignore this also. So we are left with only 2 options: sys dot availability replicas and sys DM HADR availability replicas. So if you are making use of DMVs, you can answer this. Otherwise, you will get confused between these 2. So the right answer is sys DM HADR availability replica states. This one gives you everything, like if any if any replica is behind the primary server, and there are many fields that many columns that you get with this replica rather than this replica. This is basic replica. This is some more advanced replica, more advanced DMV than this one. So the answer is this one, sys DM HADR availability replica states. That is the reason. Okay, let's move on. So this is about geo replication on Azure SQL. So which query you use to find out the lag between one region to another region out of these 4? So just an information for you guys about geo replication, because I have done geo replication by showing an front-end application using Java application. So if you are interested, you can watch this video. I'm giving you public links, not my private links. Okay, so everything is public here. You can watch these videos. Okay, so I've done this using a Java application. You will find it very interesting. Okay, you can watch this video, and the answer is geo replication link status. This is the DMV that I have to make use of if there is any lag between SQL, Azure SQL databases, which are part of geo replication. So by the way, Azure SQL supports geo replication, and manage instance supports auto failover groups to configure your DR. Okay, I am just repeating again. Azure MI supports auto failover groups, whereas Azure SQL databases supports geo replication. So what is the difference and all? I think I've discussed in my classes, so I don't want to go through that again. For this, the answer is geo replication link status. This time the question is on extended events. So how many of you have worked on extended events before I discuss this question? So in real time, profiler is one option and extend events is one more option. People are still using profiler. That's the reason, even though Microsoft is saying profiler would get deprecated, they are not doing it because people are still using profiler. That's a different story. Extend events are there from 2008. Extend events are there from 2008. And in 2008, There's no graphical support. If you open up SSMS, you will not see any graphical support for extend events. It has to be completely via T-SQL. So they added that extended support in 2012. So there are few extend events which comes by default. I repeat, there are few extend events which comes by default. One such extended event session is system health. Very important extend event health session. System health session. Okay, that is the extend event. So there is a lot of information inside that extend event session. So you can make use of even to track your deadlocks. You need not enable any trace flags. So if you are going for interviews and people are asking, should we enable trace flags for deadlocks? Your answer should be no. You need not enable any trace flags for deadlocks from 2008 because that information is there inside system health session extend event session. Okay, so that is the importance. And if you are having always on, there will be one more health session that gets configured automatically. So that is called as always on health session, always on health extend event session. That will come automatically if you configure always on. So those two are very important, and the rest of the one you need to configure. If you are having any performance issues, you can configure extend events to find out what it is and where we are going wrong. Okay, so now the question is, you need to configure extend events monitoring to capture an event when the database is added to MI. So if any database is added to MI, we need to configure extend events to capture event saying that, okay, this database got added to MI. Out of the 4 options, which one should I use? So only for the people who worked on extend events can answer this, or else it's not possible. So debug, it will not appear by default. So if you have worked on it, you will come to know debug is, it will not appear. You have to do some tricks to make this appear. The rest of the options are operational, admin, and analytic. So this answer is operational. This is just an operation. We are just doing a normal thing. So this falls into operational category. If you wanted to know about this extend events, there is one guy by name Jonathan Kehayas. So if you wanted to see this, I'll just show you. Just type Jonathan Kehayas. He's from SQL Skills. He's the one who wrote 31-part series on extend events. If you want, you can read that. I read all those articles, so that's why I'm saying his name. Jonathan. Just type Jonathan. So this is the link. So I said 31, right? So as you can see, this is the series, 31 series, what he has written. You'll get complete information on extend events if anyone is interested. Okay, let's move on. I'm giving you the answers, and also I'm asking you to refer certain things, right? So it's up to you. If you wanted to learn it, otherwise it's your choice. Okay, so now we have Azure SQL database and users reporting poor performance of the database overnight. So out of the below tools, which one we can make use of to find out the root cause? The performance was slow. It's not happening now. It happened in the night. It already happened. Okay, it already happened. It's not happening now. So out of these 4 options, which one should I use? Query store. Yes. So query store is there from 2016 in on-premises, and it is there by default on MI and Azure SQL. So if something happened in the past, you have to make use of query store. If it is happening right now, then you have to make use of DMVs or SP who is active, blah, blah, blah. That's a different story. Profiler, you can run profiler to see what's happening. But if something happened in the past, our answer should be query store. I discussed a lot about this one in my interview sessions, interview questions and series. So I don't want to repeat that again. That's the reason. So we have Azure SQL database. We need to troubleshoot blocking and deadlock. Which one should I make use of out of these 5? Blocking and deadlock on Azure SQL database. Which one should I use? We have to choose 2 features.
Extended events.
Extend events, that is right. The next option.
Query store.
Query store, for your information, I know people have this tendency. Query store will not give you anything with blocking or deadlocks. It will give you locking information. It will not pinpoint you to the blocking or deadlocks, especially deadlocks. So query store is not the right option. So he said deadlock also, not just blocking.
SQL Insights.
Yes, answer is SQL Insights. So I have given a demo like how to create the blocking. I have shown how to capture the information using SQL Insights and also deadlocks. Everything I have shown. So for the people who are part of it, you can go back and refer the videos on SQL Insights. I have shown this for MI also, not just Azure SQL. So I've shown this for MI also. Okay, let's move on. So now we have to enable extend events to monitor deadlocks. Okay, to monitor deadlocks, we have to enable extend events. So he's saying Azure SQL Server 2019 instance means on premises. When we say 2019, by the way, if I ask you what is the version of MI or Azure SQL, what will be your answer?
Latest.
Latest.
In MI.
Latest.
So,
Okay.
In
I will,
Azure,
Ah.
Azure, there is no concept of version and patch. All will be taken care of the Azure portal service provider. So every time they will, it will be up to the mark. Even the small patch will become, it will apply online only, and there is no need of downtime or something.
Okay, I
So
accept your
patching.
answer, but the right answer, okay, you explained me clearly. I am happy with that. When someone asks you what is the version of MI or Azure SQL, one word answer is it is versionless. We should call it as versionless. There's no version associated with it. As someone just said, every time the Microsoft releases something, it gets automatically updated. So you can't keep track of version on those MI or Azure SQL. So the answer should be it's versionless. If someone asks you what is a version of MI or Azure SQL, we should say it's versionless. Unlike on-premises or infrastructure as a service, where we have versions associated with it, platform as a service world is not having any versions, so it is versionless. Okay, so this question is on 2019. Okay, out of these three, which one should I choose? So he's asking about T-SQL. He's testing your T-SQL abilities also. Okay, so unless you worked on T-SQL, it's almost next to impossible to answer this, but I'm giving you a trick. Okay, so if you worked on extend events, there are many options to store extend events. So one is file, the other one is histogram, the other one is event counter. Event counters. There are some options. So as I said, extend events will play a vital role. So that's the reason I referred you to this guy. So there is no other better place than reading this information. Okay, so if I am at your place and if I'm not sure about T-SQL statement of deadlocks with respect to extend events, so my technology is I'm just showing you how I will get rid of the options. So he's talking about deadlocks on 2019 instance, so it is on premises. So histogram, no, it's histogram is a different story where you will try to configure histogram when you wanted to see what happened back and forth. So it's like a different way. We'll talk about that in maybe in upcoming classes if time permits. Event counter is also not the right storage thing. The right answer is event file. So you are storing that deadlock information into a file. So this is the right option. So if the same question, if he asks on Azure SQL or Azure MI, then what will be our answer? Because files will not be there, right? Will we have the option of file? If so, where should I store that file? We don't have the operating system, right? Here we are saving it on C:\traces deadlock. If you see, we are saving this information into set file name equal to some location, operating system location, right? So we don't have the operating system on MI or Azure SQL. In such case, what will be your answer? Remember, if you wanted to configure deadlocks on platform as a service world, extend events on a platform as a service world, we don't have the option of operating system, so we cannot make use of this option. It has to be blob storage. And on Azure SQL database, we call Azure SQL as database as a service, whereas MI as instance as a service. I repeat, Azure SQL is called as database as a service. Each database is a service in Azure SQL, whereas on MI, it's a collection of databases and we are referring to instance there. So just like our on-premises, we will get system databases like you can see master, model, MSDB and TempDB. But when I do the same thing on Azure SQL, you will only see Azure master database and your database. You will not even see model database MSDB database, TempDB database, if you open up the Azure SQL. So that's the reason Azure SQL is called as database as a service, whereas managed instance is called as instance as a service. That's the difference. Okay, so let's move on. I'm a bit tired, so I'll stop with this question, or maybe these two questions, and I'll stop. You have an MI that hosts 100 databases. Okay, 100 databases are there. So you need to monitor the database for performance degradation, and you have to provide RCA. So the solution must minimize the administrative effort. Which option will you configure to monitor the database performance degradation, and you have to provide RCA for that degradation? So what should be our option? Intelligent insights, external events, ledger, auditing. Straight away, auditing is not for performance degradation, so I can ignore auditing. Ledger is not for performance degradation. Ledger is for something, for some different purpose. So straight away I can delete this also. So we are left with external events and intelligent insights. Which option is the right option here?
Intelligent insights.
Yeah, intelligent insights is the right option, because external events is just for single purpose. Like if something went wrong, I can troubleshoot it, but not for hundreds of databases. It's not possible to do it on many databases. And intelligence insights is like a monitoring tool. Just for your information, guys, although I have shown demos and in my classes we discussed about intelligent insights, but outsiders, for the people who just joined for this session. So intelligent insights, it's like a monitoring tool where you can monitor your VMs, your MI, your Azure SQL. So intelligent insights is the right answer here in this case. Okay, and let's move on. If you wanted to make, this is on MI, query store on MI, and you have to manually force your execution plans for regressed query. What is regressed query actually? Right? So what is regressed query in query store? Before we discuss about the permission, so what is a regressed query in query store? Right?
As a naming convention, it's related to IE resources, like having the more logical reads or more CPU threads or something.
Regression means that what you are saying, we can call it as high consuming queries. High consuming means CPU, memory, or IO, whatever it is. What is regression? That is different, right? It's not the same thing. Okay.
Different execution plans.
Exactly. So when you execute that query, sometimes it is going with example. I'm just giving an example. Sometimes it's going with seek and key lookups, or just seek, for example. Sometimes it's going with scan. Sometimes it's going with something else. So when you get different execution plans while executing the query in different ways, so then that query will be treated as regressed query. Means you are not getting the same execution plan when you are executing that query. If that is the case, there is an option to force that best plan. So you will get the plans, and you have to choose the one right plan that takes less CPU, or less resource consumption. So you can choose that plan, and if you just click on that button, you will force that plan, and going forward the same plan will be used. So for that you should have DB owner permissions. You cannot do it with other permissions. It has to be DB owner permissions. So that is the answer. So before I'm stopping here, I will continue with the rest. So before stopping, I would like to show you one thing. How many of you are aware of online resumable indexes? I'll throw a question and then we will talk about that. Imagine you have always on availability groups in on-premises or Azure VMs. So that is 2017. Okay, that is 2017. So there is one huge database, some 2 terabytes or 3 terabytes, that is part of always on. Okay, you have seen fragmentation, and it is more than 70% or 80%. Okay, some heavily fragmented index, and you started doing Ola Halagren maintenance plan, Ola Halagren jobs or maintenance plan, whatever it is. So you are doing that, and all of a sudden the log file got full, the log drive got full, and you have to remove your databases from always on, you have to take backups, you have to shrink it, and you have to do all these things, right? Agreed or not? Are you getting my question before I repeat? So my question is, you are on 2017 on-premises version, on-premises or IaaS, and you have configured always on between same data center or multiple data centers, whatever it is. So you are operating in synchronous mode, and there is one huge database, and we're having one huge table, which is of 3 terabytes, and you are doing index rebuild on that table, very important table, very big table, huge index size, blah, blah, blah. So because since we are doing that index maintenance operation, rebuild operation, my log file got full. My log file got full. When log file got full, what happens? Will the always on work as expected? No, right? If the log file got full, you cannot transfer the log records from primary to secondary unless you clear that log file full issue. What will you do in such case? Oh, silence is the best option. Come on, log file got full in always on. What will you do? No answers.
So take a backup of log.
So the only option is taking the log backup. If it permits. Why I'm saying if it permits, because when you are doing index rebuild operation, all the log that gets generated on the primary has to get transferred from primary to all your secondary replicas, right or not? So any log records that gets generated on the primary has to get transferred from primary to your secondary replicas. Whether it is update, insert, delete, rebuild, reorg, doesn't matter. Bulk load, whatever it is, the operation that gets generated on the primary, those log records should get transferred to secondary. So if it is getting transferred to secondary, there should be space available on the log file and in the log drive. Since we are doing rebuild operation, so it will generate lot of log. It will generate lot of log, and the same log has to get traversed from primary to secondary. So if we don't have space, then we are gone. So you have to stop that replication. Stop that always on, remove that database from always on, and perform the log backup and then shrink it. Because if you don't do these steps, when you fire sys.databases for log reuse wait description column, it says availability replica. It always says availability replica because that log, whatever that gets generated from the primary, has not getting transferred because the log file is full on secondary drives or secondary servers. The log file is full, so there is no space for us. So what will happen? I have to do all this tedious process, right? So what should we do to avoid such scenarios? I said my source version is on 2017. Okay, remember that point. I'm saying 2017, from 2017. So when you are on 2017, okay, there is one very important option that you have to make use of in your scripts. Okay, that is called as resumable online index rebuild. Means before 2017, when I stop any index operation job, maintenance job, or index related job, Ola, Halagren, or whatever it is, especially rebuild, it will carry out from the beginning. So if, for example, 40% got completed, rebuild operation is in progress and 40% got completed. Unfortunately, our log drives got full. Okay, and I have to stop that job because my log file is getting full. I have to stop that job. If I stop that job and next day when I trigger the same job, it will start from the beginning. It won't start from where I left. Getting my point? Yes, I'm talking about rebuild. I'm not talking about reorg. Reorg will start from where it left. Even from 2005, it's the same operation. Reorg, if you start it today and if you start it tomorrow, it will start from where I left. For example, 9% got completed. 9% reorganization, 9% got completed. So it will start from 9% only. It will not start from 0. But that is not the case for rebuild. It will start from where it left. It will start from beginning. It will start from beginning. Means, for example, 40% got completed today. It won't start from 40% the other day. It will start from 0, from the scratch. That is the biggest headache for any DBA. Okay, but from 2017, just like reorg, if I stop my rebuild job, I can start it from where I left. Means 40% got completed rebuild operation and your log file is getting full. then in such case you can stop your rebuild operation, you can pause it, and you can start it from where it left. So that is the beauty. So I'm going to just discuss about that feature just for with few examples. Okay. Any questions before I move on?
No.
Okay. So I'm just taking this example. I mean, so I'm just explaining you with an example. Sorry. So this is about online index, resumable online index rebuild. So first I will show you the demo, and then I will tell you what needs to be done in your scripts modification, what modification should be done with your scripts. Okay. So first let's do this. I will take Stack Overflow database because that is 50 GB. Where is that? This one is here. So do you find my sessions useful?
Very
Yes.
good one.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is 50 GB database. So, okay, just talk about an interview, not just interview question, very tricky question. I wanted to find the number of rows inside the tables, all tables. Okay, and what will you do? Okay, let's talk about for a second. I wanted to find the number of rows for all the tables inside a database. Just for one table, for example, just talk about one table for a second.
TBCC shows
SP space used.
Space used.
SP space used. Okay, that is one answer. Okay, anyone with count star from table name?
Seller star from sys.object, sys.indexes or something.
No, that won't give you the number of rows. I'm talking about number of rows inside the table.
You can go for reports. I mean, from there you can give a
Reports from instance, right clicking reports. That is one thing. Someone said SP space used. Anyone with count star? Select count star from table name.
It's very expensive operation.
Yeah. So when you are appearing for interviews, also this is one of the common interview questions with respect to T-SQL or DBA. Okay, when you wanted to find out row count for all the tables at one shot, with the easiest option without blocking anything, with any such case. So the easiest option is this one. I wanted to see, for example, 2013 database, which is of 50 GB. Okay. So go here and just fire this DMV. Oh, sorry. 1 second. DM. What is that I'm talking about? Number of rows, right? Okay. DMDB. Oh my God. What is this, man? Even I forgot. Yeah, DMDB partition stats. Okay. Sometimes it will not be on top of my head. So we have a column by name rows here. Okay, just run this. Is this the one? Let me check. Row count. Okay, row count is there. Okay, let's make use of row count. Okay, and now object underscore name of object ID, because I wanted to see names, not the IDs. Row count. So I'm getting the row count, okay, for all the tables in my database. And if you see why I'm getting 2 times badges with same number of rows. Does it mean it is giving duplicates?
Different schema.
Different schema, will it give different results? No, right? Okay, I'll tell you. Okay. So this is the easiest way to fetch the number of rows. Where I went wrong, 2 commas. Okay. Okay, so this is our tables. So I have six tables, I believe. So 6 or 5. Okay, so these are the number of rows. So if you see here for badges, badge table, so I have index ID 1 and index ID 3. Okay, remember guys, index ID 1 is nothing but cluster index. Cluster index is nothing but our table. Be very clear with that. Okay, index ID 1 is cluster index. Cluster index is nothing but our table. Table itself is called as cluster index. I mean, it's just organized in B tree. If it is not the case, it will be organized in heap structure. If it's not the case, it is organized in B tree structure. So cluster index is not a completely different index and it is outside of the table. No, cluster index itself is my table, but that table is organized in B tree format. Okay, so do you think that non-cluster index will have the same rows to that of the main table, or will it have different rows? Means row count. I'm asking about row count.
Same count only.
Obviously, the number of records that presents inside the table, the same number of records will be there inside my non-cluster index also, but only related to that column. For example, if I have A, B, C, D, and I create a non-cluster index on C column will have the same number of rows of what I have inside my main table, but only with respect to C. I have information only of C. I don't have information of A, B, and D with me. I have information only of C with me. Okay, so that's the reason you are seeing same number of rows twice, because I have the non-cluster index. So if I'm doing this only for the tables, if that is the case, so my query should be where index ID in 0 if it is heap table, or 1 if it is cluster index. That's it. So this is my row count. Okay, so I have very big table. So it is with, I don't know how many rows, 720, 928, 8,000, 92,000. How many rows? 22 lakhs, 5 million rows. 5 million rows are 52 lakhs, right? So if I am, this is, imagine this table is part of always on, it is very highly fragmented and you have a very big index. Okay, so you are doing index maintenance operation on that, index maintenance operation on that database. And your log file is getting full. You are on 2017. So how to avoid this issue? So I will show you. So what you have to do is go here and you have to run your index operation with this class, resumable equal to on. Okay, so I'm just showing you a demo. I will show you in real time how to perform this. Just go here and choose this. Our table is votes, right? Our table name is votes, and index name is, let's see, help index votes. I think pk underscore something should be, yeah, pk underscore votes underscore id. So I am running this operation. So this operation, imagine it is filling up our log file. Okay, imagine this operation is filling up our log file. If that is the case, what I will do is I will come here and I will pass the index operation. So I'll come here and I will take another window. You notice that log file is getting full because of this operation. So what I have to do, I have to pass this operation. So I'll come here and I'll choose this and I will say pass. So once I say pass, this statement gets disconnected. So it will get killed automatically. But the beauty is, if I say resume, it will continue from where I left. That is one thing. And in the meanwhile, since I stopped this operation, I can come and I can take log backup. Like, since my log file is getting full, what I will do is I will stop this operation. Since I stop this operation, I can come down and I can say, I can check this also for our information, guys. sysdm db log space usage. This is very important and very handy. You have to make use of in your real time. How much space it got used and how much is left, percentage used. Instead of dbcc sql perf log space, you can use this also. So we'll talk about that later. But my main intention is, so you'll come here, you will check this is database log reuse weight description status. And if it says something like log backup, go ahead and you can take your log backup and then shrink that log file and then come back and then resume that index. Now, what is the advantage what I got here? So if something is causing my log file to get full because of any index rebuild operation, I can stop it. And I can take my log backup and I can shrink it and again I can resume it. That's the beauty. This option is not there before 2017. Okay, you can't do it. So if you just stop it, it will stop and you have to start from the scratch. I mean, not you, SQL Server will start from the scratch. That is the biggest headache. But now, since we are on 2017, if you stop it, just like what I did, if you pass it, it will stop there, it will get killed. And if I say resume, I will show you. So it will start resume again from where it left. Imagine 40% got completed. Okay, so now if I come here and I say resume instead of pass, it will continue. So just remove pass and say resume. Okay, it's started again. So if you wanted to see if it really started, just run SP who is active or any of your tools.
Vamshi said there is no concept of the percentage, right? In how much is happening or how much is left.
No, so you can use, I have shown you that technique, right? So you can use that technique. What is that? Set statistics profile on. If you make use of that, then you can get to know the percentage also. So if you see here, my alter index operation is running right now. So it is still performing that operation. And percentage, you can do it only if you set statistics profile on, because sometimes, not sometimes, it won't get revealed from SP who is active. Okay, so if you say abort, it will get stopped altogether. It won't get connected again. So my question is how to make use of this option in real time, because most of you will be definitely using Ola Halagram script, right? Maintenance plan, I don't think people will use maintenance plan. Everyone will make use of Ola Halagram scripts. So if that is the case, if you are on 27,
one more thing. Every
Yeah.
index we need to alter index name, rebuild, and we have to pass this online resume on, right?
No, you can't do it for every index, right? That's what I'm asking. What should I do?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you have to do is you have to just go here, go to your maintenance, go to your Ola Halagram scripts, and you have to modify something like this. So you should add this line, just one line, resumable equal to y. If you say this option inside your Ola Halagram script, then only you will be able to pass that index operation. If you don't specify this, you can't do it. It's not possible. Okay. So when you specify this line, resumable equal to yes, then only you will be able to pass that index rebuild operation. Otherwise, you can't pass it. It will be just like previous versions. Okay. So add this, and there is something called as time limit. So we'll talk about time limit in our next class. So how to make use of it. I will come up with a real-time demo, so you'll feel much more confident rather than just showing you with this. It got completed because I don't have any bigger index to show this. So I will try to create fragmentation and I'll show you how it works. I'll try to, restrict the log file, and I'll show the real impact and how to make use of it. I'm just started giving you the introduction of online index rebuild. So if you wanted to make use of in your systems in real time, modify your Ola Halagram scripts to make use of resumable equal to y class, s class. So this is also important. Time limit, we'll talk about that later. I'm done. So we'll continue with our next set of questions, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So if anyone is looking for interview questions, if anyone is appearing for certifications, if anyone is looking for deep knowledge on Azure, by looking at this, you can take a call, guys. Okay. So don't think that I'm promoting, but I have to say you are missing something very useful. So I'm just letting you know, guys. That's it. Thank you for attending the session. I'll share the video later.
Thank you, Vamshi.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vamshi.
No problem.
Thank you.
All.
Thank you, Vamshi.
Yeah.
Awesome.